Welcome to this edition of Crash Course. Today, I want to talk about another interesting thing that was raised in one of the questions that was sent to me. This question came from Marlene. Over the past, people that know me will know I've been punting, showing and even selling in-car cameras, saying, look, at the end of the day, you've got to have an in-car video camera. Every person that tells me they were abused by a traffic cop or given a fine for no reason or robbed even, or whatever the case might be, first thing I ask is, did you have an in-car camera? And invariably the question comes back with, no, I didn't. Well, the fact is that I propose that every single road user should have an in-car camera. You should have one of these dash cameras. I personally endorse, support and enjoy and love and even use Garmin GPS cameras, the dash cameras, but there are many varieties and you can get whatever you like. The question that was asked is, apparently there are some cases where people were stopped by traffic officers where the suspicion is that the traffic officer was acting in some kind of unjust way, or law enforcement officer, let's leave it at that, and that apparently the camera was grabbed out of the car, such as GoPros, etc. How do we get past that, and what is my advice or the crash course regarding that? The first thing that you've got to understand is that the only way in which a law enforcement officer can take anything from you is if it is taken into custody and linked to a particular crime. So a crime, not a road traffic offense, a crime. The only thing a traffic officer is legally allowed to take from you under specific conditions are, firstly, they can take your license disc if your vehicle is unroadworthy. They can take it into custody. They have the book they have to fill in, and you get a receipt for it, so that you have to take your vehicle and have it declared roadworthy again, and then return to have your license renewed. The other thing they could do is they could impound your whole vehicle if it is so unroadworthy, so dangerous, etc., that it can result in fatality or serious injury. That's something that they could do. A law enforcement officer could impound your vehicle or anything in it if you're suspected of a specific crime. Let's say there was a bank robbery, and in the bank robbery was the make and model by description of your particular car and you as description, and an officer has reasonable cause to believe that you were directly linked to that crime, and he finds you have a camera, he could take that camera into custody. It's called the SAP 13 in South Africa, for evidence at a later stage. If you're involved in a serious road traffic collision and it's culpable homicide or reckless driving or even murder, then certainly your car or any evidence in it could be taken into custody. But every time under the banner or under the control of a particular chain of custody, paperwork, documents, reports, knowledge, there will be some kind of statement by an officer stating what he confiscated, why he confiscated it, and what he confiscated it for. Now, if a traffic law enforcement officer stops you under some allegation and some argument ensues, or some kind of bribe, there's an attempt to solicit a bribe and you refuse to pay the bribe and the person grabs your stuff, that's robbery, that's theft. If the person is armed and in any way threatens you with further action, some action or something like that, it could potentially even be armed robbery. So if a traffic officer, law enforcement officer, police officer, or any enforcement officer had to grab a camera from my car, I would go and lay a criminal charge of either theft or robbery or armed robbery, depending on the situation. Another thing I propose is that the camera you use be small enough for you to hide. The ones we use are quite small, the Garmin unit. I put it behind my mirror. It's not easy to see, therefore it's more difficult to grab. If you're going to put a GoPro on your driver's side where it's easy to grab, maybe then it will be grabbed. But if it's further away and harder to get to, it's more difficult. I also have two cameras in my car. I have one at the front fitted behind my mirror and a second fitted in the back window. That way I have two recordings of the event. So if anybody wanted to grab anything from me, they'd have to enter my vehicle and go around the inside and take it from the back, take it from the front, etc. What you could do if you don't have a dash camera is take your WhatsApp. Take a conversation with your husband, your wife, your father, your mother, your doctor, I don't care, somebody that you trust. Make the conversation with them a so-called favorite. So it sits right at the top of your WhatsApp. Therefore, whenever you are stopped by law enforcement for any reason, including legal ones, even if you were wrong, Take your phone, start a voice note to that person under that conversation. Hold your finger on the voice note, recording everything. The first thing you say to the officer is, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever. I am recording this conversation for my protection. How can I cooperate with you? That way, if they grab the phone or anything, the moment you release that finger, the message is sent, the whole audio recording is on file. That's our crash course for today, and thank you for your time.